Chosen one, listen carefully, because this message is not meant for everyone who happens to hear it. It is not for the curious, the entertained, or the casually spiritual. It is for those who are walking a narrow path, often unseen, often misunderstood, yet deeply committed to God even when obedience feels lonely. If you are still here, still listening, understand this clearly: you did not arrive by accident. Heaven arranged this moment with precision. Not too early. Not too late. Exactly when your spirit was ready to receive it. What you are experiencing in your life right now is not random, even if it feels confusing. The silence, the distance, the weight you carry internally, none of it is a mistake. There is a reason this season feels heavier than the ones before it. Even David, before he ever wore the crown, did not feel this alone. And yet, long before anyone sang his name or honored his victories, heaven was already proud of him. God's approval came first. Public recognition came much later. This same pattern is unfolding in your life right now. You may feel overlooked, disconnected, or emotionally isolated in ways you cannot fully explain. You may find yourself surrounded by people, yet still feeling deeply alone. Conversations feel shallow. Support feels temporary. Even relationships that once comforted you no longer nourish your spirit. And quietly, you may have wondered if something is wrong with you. Let me speak this truth gently but firmly: nothing is wrong with you. Something is being prepared within you. This message is not here to flatter you or dismiss your pain. It is here to bring clarity. This loneliness is not punishment. This pressure is not rejection. It is preparation. God does not isolate His chosen to harm them. He separates them to refine them. Before God releases you into greater responsibility, He works deeply on your inner world, where no one else can see. And that work often happens in silence. If you stay with this message until the end, you will understand why this loneliness is sacred, why the silence has been necessary, and why heaven is watching you with quiet approval even when no one else seems to notice. You will begin to see your season differently, not as a delay, but as alignment. Not as abandonment, but as intimacy. So take a breath. Let your guard down. You are not alone in the way you think you are. Just like David in the fields before the crown, you are being shaped in private for something that requires depth, stability, and faith that does not depend on applause. Heaven is closer than you feel. And what God is doing in you right now matters more than you realize. This kind of loneliness you are experiencing, chosen one, is not the loneliness of rejection. It is the loneliness of separation. There is a profound difference between being pushed away and being gently pulled aside by God. Rejection leaves wounds and confusion. Separation brings clarity, even if it comes with discomfort. And right now, what you are walking through is not evidence that you have been forgotten, it is evidence that you have been selected for refinement. Sacred loneliness often begins quietly. You may not notice it at first. Relationships slowly change. Invitations decrease. Conversations that once felt engaging now feel draining. You may still be loved, still respected, yet no longer fully understood. This is not because you have become distant or arrogant. It is because your inner awareness has shifted. Your spirit has matured faster than your surroundings, and alignment requires distance. God uses this separation to remove noise. When too many voices surround you, it becomes difficult to hear His. The chosen are not prepared in crowds. They are formed in stillness. In these moments alone, you are learning to listen beneath words, to discern without explanation, to stand firm without needing reinforcement. This is where inner authority begins to take shape. You may have tried to reconnect with old versions of your life, hoping the loneliness would fade. But each time, something felt off. What once fit no longer does. This is not loss, it is growth. God is gently closing doors that no longer lead forward. And while closure can feel like grief, it is actually protection. Not everything that feels familiar is meant to follow you into your next season. Sacred loneliness also teaches emotional independence. Not isolation, but stability. You are learning how to regulate your emotions without external validation. You are discovering that peace does not have to be borrowed from others, it can be cultivated within. This is essential preparation. Influence without emotional maturity leads to damage. God is building your foundation before He expands your reach. This season also reveals who can walk with you and who cannot. Some connections fade not because of conflict, but because of divergence. Paths change. Callings differ. And while this separation can feel painful, it prevents future fracture. God removes misaligned relationships early to avoid deeper wounds later. If you feel misunderstood right now, take comfort in this truth: misunderstanding often precedes assignment. Before David was understood by a nation, he was misunderstood by his own family. Before recognition came, obscurity shaped him. The same principle applies to you. Sacred loneliness is not emptiness. It is space, space for wisdom to grow, for humility to deepen, and for trust in God to become unshakable. This loneliness is not here to break you. It is here to clarify you. And clarity is the beginning of true strength. God does not use loneliness as a punishment, chosen one. He uses it as a classroom. What you are learning in this season cannot be taught in crowds, encouragement, or comfort. It must be learned in quiet, where excuses fall away and truth rises to the surface. Loneliness removes dependency. It reveals what you truly trust when there is no one left to lean on. In this season, God is teaching you how to stand emotionally and spiritually on your own foundation. Not in pride, not in isolation, but in maturity. When support disappears, your reflexes are exposed. Do you collapse, perform, or listen? God allows the absence of reassurance so that your faith can become internal instead of borrowed. You are learning to move from "someone told me" to "I know." Loneliness also sharpens discernment. Without constant external influence, your sensitivity increases. You begin to notice subtle shifts in energy, intention, and alignment. You recognize when something is off without needing evidence or explanation. This is not imagination. It is perception being refined. Leaders, protectors, and spiritual carriers must sense danger before it arrives. That ability is developed in silence. Another reason God uses loneliness is to strip identity attachments. When people are present, it is easy to define yourself by roles, expectations, or approval. But alone, those labels dissolve. You are left with who you truly are before God. This can feel uncomfortable, even destabilizing at first. But it is necessary. You cannot carry responsibility while still relying on external identity reinforcement. In this season, you may notice that emotional highs and lows feel different. You are no longer easily excited, but also not easily shaken. This is emotional regulation forming. God is teaching you steadiness. Enthusiasm is useful, but consistency is essential. The assignments ahead of you require calm under pressure, not constant motivation. Loneliness also teaches restraint. You learn that not every thought needs to be spoken, not every emotion needs expression, and not every truth needs defense. Silence becomes wisdom rather than suppression. You begin to understand timing, when to speak, when to wait, when to move, and when to remain still. This discernment protects both you and others. Most importantly, loneliness teaches obedience without reward. When no one is watching, when no affirmation follows your faithfulness, when your integrity seems unseen, you continue anyway. This is where heaven takes note. Obedience in isolation builds trust. God entrusts greater responsibility only to those who remain aligned without supervision. This training may feel long, but it is precise. God is not delaying you, He is fortifying you. What you are becoming in this quiet season will sustain you when the noise returns. To understand what you are walking through, chosen one, you must look closely at David, not the crowned king, not the celebrated warrior, but David before the crown. His story reveals a pattern God has never abandoned. David was chosen in private, anointed in obscurity, and then sent back into isolation. That detail matters. The anointing did not remove him from the field. It returned him to it. After Samuel poured oil over David's head, nothing visibly changed. No promotion followed. No recognition came. His brothers went back to their lives, and David went back to the sheep. Imagine carrying divine confirmation while living an ordinary, unseen routine. This is where many people would grow bitter, confused, or impatient. But this is exactly where God builds endurance and humility. David learned leadership where no one was watching. He protected sheep that could not reward him. He fought lions and bears that no one would ever applaud. These private battles were not random. They were preparation. God was developing David's courage, responsibility, and instinct to protect before giving him authority over people. The crown was not the beginning of David's training. It was the result of it. David also learned to trust God in isolation. There were no prophets guiding him daily, no crowds encouraging him, no visible evidence that the promise would ever come to pass. All he had was memory and faith. This is significant. God often confirms calling early but fulfills it late. The delay is not denial, it is development. Even after David stepped into moments of visibility, like defeating Goliath, he was repeatedly pushed back into isolation. Saul's jealousy forced David into hiding. He lived in caves, constantly pursued, misunderstood, and threatened. Yet even then, he refused to seize the crown prematurely. He would not kill Saul when given the chance. This restraint revealed maturity. David trusted God's timing more than his own opportunity. This pattern mirrors your experience. You may have received clarity about who you are or what you carry, yet your environment has not reflected it. You may feel capable, ready, even aware of your assignment, yet remain unseen, unsupported, or delayed. This does not mean the promise was false. It means you are still in the fields. God shapes kings in hidden places because power without humility destroys. Visibility without character corrupts. David's isolation was not a curse. It was protection. It preserved his heart until he could hold influence without losing alignment. If you feel like your life keeps circling back to solitude after moments of hope or confirmation, remember David. God is not teasing you. He is training you. The crown requires more than talent. It requires trustworthiness. And that is built where no one else is watching. There comes a point in this journey, chosen one, when the loneliness changes in texture. It becomes heavier, quieter, and more internal. This is not regression, it is transition. Earlier seasons of loneliness were about separation from people. This stage is about separation from old versions of yourself. And that process can feel unsettling because you are shedding identities that once kept you safe. In this phase, external distractions lose their power. What once comforted you no longer works. Entertainment feels empty. Busyness feels exhausting. Even spiritual routines may feel dry. This is not because you are disconnected from God. It is because God is rewiring how you relate to Him. He is moving you from dependence on structure to dependence on discernment. This loneliness is internal because your awareness has expanded. You see more. You feel more. And with that clarity comes grief. You grieve illusions, false hopes, and versions of life that will never exist again. This grief is not weakness. It is integration. You are making peace with truth. And truth always requires release. You may notice increased sensitivity to environments, conversations, and emotional undercurrents. Noise feels intrusive. Superficiality feels unbearable. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. Your nervous system is adjusting to a different frequency. You are no longer meant to live in constant stimulation. Depth is becoming your default. This stage can also feel disorienting because old coping mechanisms stop working. You can no longer numb, distract, or overextend yourself to escape discomfort. God is gently removing emotional crutches so that your stability becomes internal. This can feel like vulnerability, but it is actually strength being consolidated. You may question yourself more during this stage. Not in insecurity, but in self-examination. Motives are exposed. Desires are refined. You begin asking deeper questions. Why do I want this? Who am I becoming? What no longer belongs in my life? These questions signal maturity. You are no longer reacting, you are evaluating. This transition also marks the end of emotional chaos. While feelings may be intense, they are no longer erratic. You are learning how to hold complexity without collapsing. This emotional capacity is critical. Leadership requires the ability to remain grounded while carrying weight. If this loneliness feels deeper than before, take heart. Heavier solitude often precedes elevation. Before clarity stabilizes, confusion surfaces. Before peace anchors, restlessness passes through. You are not unraveling. You are reorganizing. This is the stage where many turn back because comfort tempts them more than truth. But if you remain present, if you resist the urge to escape, something remarkable happens. The loneliness transforms into authority. Silence becomes confidence. And transition quietly completes its work. One of the most difficult lessons for the chosen one to accept is this: heaven's approval rarely looks like human applause. In fact, the more aligned you become, the quieter external affirmation often grows. This is not neglect. It is intention. God is teaching you to recognize approval without noise, affirmation without evidence, and worth without witnesses. Heaven measures differently than people do. While the world celebrates visibility, God honors obedience. While people reward performance, heaven responds to alignment. Many of your most important victories will never be noticed publicly. Moments when you chose restraint over reaction, integrity over convenience, silence over self-defense, these are the moments heaven records. And these moments matter far more than you realize. This is why it can feel like you are moving forward while being ignored. You may be doing everything right, yet receiving little recognition. This is not injustice. It is insulation. Public affirmation too early can distort motivation. It can create dependency on praise instead of truth. God protects your heart by keeping your victories private until your identity is secure. David experienced this deeply. While he was faithful in the fields and caves, few acknowledged his obedience. Saul was celebrated publicly, even as his alignment deteriorated. David, meanwhile, remained hidden while heaven took note. God's silence toward David was not absence, it was trust. Trust that David would remain faithful without applause. This season teaches you to live from inner confirmation. You begin to recognize when something is right not because it is rewarded, but because it is peaceful. Peace becomes your metric. Alignment becomes your assurance. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking validation from people who cannot see what God is doing within you. There is also protection in this quiet approval. Pride cannot take root where praise is absent. Comparison loses power where identity is secure. God is safeguarding you from arrogance and insecurity by removing external mirrors. You are learning to see yourself through divine perspective instead of social reflection. You may wonder if heaven truly notices your faithfulness in small things. It does. Nothing aligned is wasted. Every moment of patience, every unseen act of obedience, every choice to remain humble is compounding. God does not forget quiet faithfulness. He builds upon it. This section of your journey refines motivation. You are no longer driven by recognition, revenge, or urgency. You are moved by conviction. And conviction is stable. It does not fluctuate with opinion. When the time comes for visibility, it will not intoxicate you. You will not need applause to know who you are. Heaven is already proud. And that approval is enough to sustain you through both obscurity and elevation. As this season reaches its final stretch, chosen one, there is a subtle but unmistakable shift that begins to take place within you. The noise that once unsettled you no longer has the same power. The urgency that once pushed you to prove yourself has softened into patience. This is not stagnation, it is readiness. When God prepares to elevate someone, He first anchors them in peace. One of the clearest signs that the crown is near is restraint. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself, defend your choices, or rush your process. You understand that what is meant for you cannot be stolen, delayed, or destroyed by misunderstanding. This confidence is not loud. It is grounded. It comes from knowing who you answer to, and who you no longer need to. You may notice that pressure increases in unexpected ways. Not chaos, but responsibility. Small decisions carry more weight. Your words seem to affect others more deeply. People may seek your counsel without knowing why. This is not coincidence. God begins to test influence before He expands it. He watches how you handle authority in minor forms before releasing it in major ones. At this stage, God's guidance also feels different. Less correction. More collaboration. Instead of being constantly redirected, you sense a quiet partnership forming. God trusts your discernment. He allows you to choose because your choices are now aligned with His will. This shift can feel unfamiliar, even intimidating. But it is evidence of maturity. Another sign the crown is near is detachment from outcomes. You do your part faithfully, then release the result. Anxiety about timing fades. You stop trying to control how things unfold. This surrender is not passivity. It is confidence in divine orchestration. You know that forcing doors open often leads to misalignment. You may also feel grief as this season ends. There is comfort in solitude, even when it was difficult. Leaving it behind can feel bittersweet. But do not mistake nostalgia for calling. God does not prepare you in isolation to leave you there. He prepares you to carry presence into places of influence. The crown you are approaching is not about status. It is about stewardship. It represents trust, responsibility, and service. God does not elevate to impress, He elevates to impact. And impact requires character strong enough to remain humble under pressure. So if life feels quiet but charged, if you feel steady yet alert, if peace has replaced striving, understand what this means. You are not waiting anymore. You are positioned. The crown is not something you chase. It is something that arrives when alignment is complete. And heaven, watching patiently, knows you are ready. Chosen one, as this message comes to a close, let this truth settle deeply within you. You were never forgotten, delayed, or overlooked. Every silent season, every lonely stretch, every moment when it felt like nothing was happening was, in fact, filled with divine intention. God does His most precise work away from the spotlight, where motives are purified and character is formed without interference. What felt like emptiness was actually construction. You now understand why your path could not look like everyone else's. Why shortcuts were unavailable. Why support faded just when you hoped it would grow. You were being prepared to carry weight without losing balance, influence without losing humility, and authority without losing compassion. These qualities cannot be rushed. They must be earned through seasons that test your faith when there is no applause to sustain it. There will still be challenges ahead, but they will no longer shake your identity. You have learned how to remain steady in uncertainty, how to listen in silence, and how to wait without losing hope. These are not small achievements. They are the marks of spiritual maturity. Few are willing to walk this path, and even fewer complete it with their integrity intact. You will also notice that your standards have changed. What you tolerate, pursue, and invest in will no longer be driven by emotion or urgency. You will choose with clarity. You will move with intention. This is not detachment from life, it is mastery within it. And when challenges arise, as they inevitably will, you will meet them differently. Not with panic. Not with self-doubt. But with steadiness. You have already faced the hardest test, becoming whole without external reinforcement. Everything else builds upon that foundation. So go forward without needing to announce yourself. Walk without needing to prove anything. Serve without needing to be seen. The ones who are meant to recognize you will feel it. And heaven, which has been watching all along, does not need reminders. This journey was never about reaching a destination. It was about becoming someone who could be trusted with what comes next. And now, chosen one, you are not merely prepared, you are aligned. Stay grounded. Stay humble. Stay awake.